All right. So thank you so much for coming in this afternoon at 1 p.m. I hope you guys had a great roulette networking happy hour or precursor to the networking that'll happen tonight. I partook in it and it was really fun. I got to see a lot of fun, exciting faces, and I'm glad to hear everyone is having a good time so far. So now we're going to head into our afternoon session. So with that being said, I want to introduce to you Philip Tate, who's a APR, fellow PRSA member. He is a brand builder and strategic communicator with more than 35 years experience in public relations, marketing, and advertising. During his tenure as senior vice president for Luke Wire, George Andrews, he directed award-winning campaigns for many of the agency's leading clients, including National Gypsum, Lincoln Harris, Rogers Builders, and the Charlotte 49ers. Philip has devoted much of his volunteer time to PRSA. He is past chair for the PRSA College of Fellows and previously served 2 terms as national treasurer on the PRSA National Board of Directors. He has also been active with the PRSA Independent Practitioners Alliance, Counselors Academy, and is a member of the Board of Ethics and Professional Standards. Philip graduated from Vanderbilt University with a Bachelor of Arts degree in English and a double minor in political science and history. So before we let him just talk and you guys get to learn from him, please input your questions into the Whova Q&A feature on the right-hand side of your screen. This session is being recorded, so you guys are able to watch this at a later date. And please do not unmute or turn on your cameras during the session. So thanks so much. And Philip, all to you.
All right, Robin, thank you very much. Appreciate your help today getting all this facilitated. Let me try to get my screen shared here. If this will. There we go. Can you see that okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Philip.
Fantastic. Sounds great. All right. All right, very good. Well, again, thank you for joining me today. Hopefully, you'll enjoy our time together here. Mentoring's a passion of mine, something that I've been fortunate to be on the receiving end for many years, and I've also been able to pay it forward or pay it back to many others as well. And so hopefully provide a little bit of background, some tips, tricks, things like that, that hopefully be beneficial to everybody who's participating. So let's just jump right into it. I'm a big fan of, there we go. Big fan of mentoring, as I mentioned. I think it's really key to career success. And so here's a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about the importance of mentoring, how it can help you really at any stage of your career. We'll try to discuss, where to look for a mentor, what makes for an effective mentoring relationship, some of the benefits to both mentor and protege, and what to do if things don't work out. And sometimes they don't, and that's okay. Like to identify some opportunities for mentoring kind of across the PRSA membership continuum at both the local chapter and the national levels. As Robin said in her gracious introduction, I've been very active in PRSA throughout most of my professional career, including the PRSA College of Fellows. And when I was the chair of that section of PRSA, I coined the phrase mentoring is the calling card of the PRSA College of Fellows. Really coined that phrase to give the college a sense of identity and purpose within the larger PRSA community. And so the college is really there as a resource for mentoring across PRSA. We develop guides and materials. We do a lot of sessions and webinars like the one that we're part of today. We've done on-site mentoring during the PRSA International Conference for many years. We've helped facilitate mentoring with a lot of chapters throughout PRSA at the local level and even around district and section conferences. I think one of the things that we've all learned during the era of COVID and all this technology-only contact like what we're doing today is that beneficial mentoring relationships are still possible. And in fact, they remain very vital. And for me, what's fun about mentoring is that we're in a fast-paced business. It's online communications, social media, just our day-to-day PR work. What I like about mentoring is that the roles often reverse. And so there's an opportunity oftentimes for the mentor to become the protege because they get a chance to learn things that maybe they didn't know before. So what motivates someone to be a mentor? When I was in the College of Fellows Leadership, we commissioned a survey from Jackson, Jackson & Wagner, Pat Jackson's old agency up in the Northeast. And we asked them, help us understand what motivates people to want to mentor in the first place. So we did a survey and we found out, I love this first response here, giving back to the PR profession was answered 100% of the time. Every person who took the survey said, that's one of my motivations. I want to give back to the profession that I'm in and the profession that I love. And then you see some of the other things there as well. Certainly personal satisfaction, it'd be very rewarding to be a mentor. Certainly the learning opportunities that come with being a mentor or being mentored by others. And then to me, the most significant one here is the last one, being asked to mentor. 57% of the people who were surveyed said, I just needed to be asked. People did it for me. I just needed someone to ask me to do it. I was more than happy to do it. So what makes a good mentor? Here's a quote from one of my good friends who's been a mentor of mine for many, many years. He said, get a good mentor, somebody who's going to challenge you, make you really sweat as you think through what it is you want to do, who you want to be. I had one person who was almost unrelenting with pushing me to try things, particularly new things. Don't be afraid to take risks. I think that's great advice. And I refer back to that quote, obviously, every time I give this presentation, but I think about what he said to me many years ago. So why do we need mentoring? I think you start with the fact that young people are hungry for mentoring, and that could be people who are new professionals, people who are college students, maybe just early in their career. Certainly, they're eager to learn from different people. I mean, I think there's opportunities to learn from your internship supervisors, from professors if you're still in school. Certainly your parents have played a role in your personal and maybe sometimes your professional development. I think there's a tremendous desire to learn more about collaboration, how to adapt to changing situations, particularly in the workplace. I think young people are seeking guidance and validation. They want to grow in maturity and independence. And then they want to become more self-confident. And really what I mean by that is that, excuse me, especially, pardon me, when it comes to things like ethical challenges, that might be something that they don't teach you in college, might be something you don't really know until you're faced with your first ethical challenge. And that might be the first opportunity you have to really seek a mentor to help you through a situation you never thought you'd have to encounter. So what are some ways that mentors can help? They can help in all the ways that you see listed here on this slide. I mean, mentoring offers a great opportunity to gain outside perspective from experienced professionals. Mentors can share their knowledge, their skills, their expertise with their proteges, providing them with a fresh perspective on the profession. The nature of mentorship, when it's done well, is that it's highly personalized. And it's tailored to meet the needs of the protege. So for the different people who want to be mentored. And you see on this list here, won't read all of them for you, but everything from a resume. Hey, can you take a look at my resume? I'm thinking about changing jobs or changing careers. It might be looking at a presentation deck that you've put together where you need to get some feedback from someone who's had nothing to do with the project you're working on. In my own case, I worked in the agency environment for nearly 30 years. And when I left to start my own PR practice back last fall, I really leaned on a lot of those mentors of mine to ask for their counsel and advice. How do you set up an LLC? What do I do for healthcare? How do I find clients? Is it okay for me to do this or that? Things like that. I think it's also good to have a mentor when you're facing maybe a work-related problem. A number of the people that I went through the accreditation and public relations process with years ago through PRSA have remained really good confidants and colleagues. And so I might be facing a situation in my own career in a work challenge. Those are people that I'll tap and reach out to and say, hey, here's a situation I'm facing. Would welcome your feedback and your thoughts. You know me in the context of having been through APR class together. You know how I think and what I'm facing here. I'd welcome your advice. So that mentoring can even be peer-to-peer, and I think that's effective in its own way. So why do we need mentoring again? I think there's a way to certainly help entry-level or early career hires with that transition to full-time work life. You know, there's certainly an onboarding process, but I'm talking about beyond just the HR stuff you have to do when you start any new job. It's really understanding the workplace culture. I think a lot of that stuff is developed by going to lunch, by meeting for drinks after work, by going on photo shoots together, by going on a press check, whatever it might be. But it's helping the younger employees develop those essential skills. And hopefully, you're also helping them uncover some passion points, some things that they're very, very interested in doing, and helping them discover what is my path? What would I like to be doing? I think another way to help with that career transition is to help folks understand, where volunteer opportunities outside work or involvement with a local charity can be beneficial. That can be with a church, it can be with a community center, it can be with PRSA at your local chapter. I think primarily what you're looking for, though, and I love to say this to people, is look for those opportunities to exercise different muscles. You know, whatever your day-to-day job is, you're asked to do certain things. But where can you find opportunities to exercise different muscles, do different things? Maybe it's undertake a leadership opportunity within a professional association or a volunteer capacity that you wouldn't have in your normal work life, but that will help you become not only an active leader as a volunteer, but that will help translate to what you're doing in your day-to-day work as well. I think there's tremendous benefits for that. So I think another piece of this mentoring is finding ways for some of these new hires to get prepared and get involved in leadership. In my agency life, we did an annual 24-hour PR marketing blitz. That's what that Good Stock logo is you see on the screen there. We worked with 4 or 5 different local charities here in Charlotte each year. It started when we were celebrating a company anniversary. And it was a very intentional effort on our part to give back to the community that had been very, very good to us. And so we involved our new hires and our younger people in this pro bono work in a very intentional way. We would put teams together so people that normally didn't get to work with one another would get to do so when we worked on Good Stock for that blitz period of 24 hours plus. I think it was meant to help cultivate that natural curiosity, and really encourage and reinforce that lifelong learning mentality that I think is beneficial to all of us. Another way to leverage millennial and Gen Z digital expertise is to look at it as a leadership opportunity. Certainly, a lot of companies are comfortable nurturing the social skill set that most millennials and Gen Z people have. But I think it's getting beyond just putting them to the side to say, hey, you're in charge of social media because you're young and you get social media. No, it's more than that. Helping them not only develop that sharing mentality, but how can this be an opportunity for me to grow and for me to get better in what I do beyond just the social media space? I think there's a great opportunity to create reverse mentoring opportunities. There are some older people within any work environment who may or may not be involved in social media, or if they are involved, it may be in a very passing or not intentional way. There's a way to make that better. The other thing, which I've seen particularly in the last couple of years, has been what I call the caution mindset, particularly with millennials and Gen Z generation. It's calling people on the phone. They don't want to do that. It might be fear of making mistakes, or it might be being afraid to just simply ask for help. These are all ways that a mentor can help guide a younger person to find a new way of doing something. Like I said, calling people on the phone, that might be a really hard thing for a younger person to do. But if their client is someone who's maybe 55 years old and they aren't accustomed to checking their email frequently, and sending them a text or sending them an email might not work. But I would know, hey, they're sitting at their desk, they're a phone call away. So just prepare the same way you would for something else, and that might create an opportunity for you to enhance your own communication ability in a little different environment. So when can you use a mentor? And when can you be a mentor? I would argue throughout your entire career. Certainly starting your career, people think about that. Someone who's just come from college and they're starting their first job, they need a mentor to help be a Sherpa, lead them along the journey and give them the pathway to follow and answer questions they might have along the way. But I would extend that to say mid-career, maybe when you're eligible to earn your accreditation in PR, as an example, would be another good place to find a mentor. Certainly career transitions, we mentioned a little bit earlier, it might be moving from job number 1 to job number 2, or from job number 5 to job number 6, or it might be leaving a workplace environment to strike out on your own and set up your own home office environment, or maybe going to work in a different dynamic than what you've been accustomed to. And the last one there on senior practitioners, I don't think it goes away just because you get deeper into your career. I'm living proof of that. I've leaned probably more on my mentors in the last year, making this career transition for me from being in an agency world to more of an independent practitioner environment. It's different. And I've needed to tap into my mentors and friends even more in the last year to help me understand the pitfalls and how do I overcome them. And yes, it's going to be okay at the end of the day. So how do you go about finding a mentor? What should you be thinking about? Well, let's look quickly at some of the qualities of a good mentor. Certainly good listening skills, I think, are vital to that. Hopefully you can find someone who appreciates and shares diverse perspectives. I think that's even more important today. You want somebody who's going to give you constructive criticism. While everybody wants a cheerleader and someone to encourage them, I think it's helpful to have someone who can give you an honest assessment and appraisal of what you're doing. That's someone who can willing to openly share their experiences. And that's not just all the great things and the great successes they had. It's also the failures. I think we all know you learn as much or more from things that went wrong than from the things that went right according to plan. I think a good mentor leads by example on things like professional development. If you see one of your mentors spending time in continuing education of whatever that might be, participating in something like PR Day to Day, or going to monthly meetings of the local PRSA chapter where programming is always first rate, those are all good ways to lead by example. I think it also helps a mentor can have that broader understanding of the PR profession and understanding the bigger picture. So someone who might be in a entry-level position, let's say at a nonprofit organization, they may not want to stay there for the rest of their career, but they may need the help of a mentor to understand, well, how does the work I've been doing at this nonprofit for the last 2 or 3 years, how does that translate into some other industries? How do I get from my nonprofit setting into something in the corporate world, or maybe in an agency environment that might be more stimulating or fast-paced for me? And then certainly, last but not least, having an encouraging and positive attitude, I think, is something else you're always trying to look for in a good mentor. So what are some of the things that a mentor can bring to the table for you? Certainly, most people think immediately about finding someone who's got lots of connections to assist with networking. But I think it goes beyond that. I think someone, like we said on the earlier slide, an objective viewpoint to help assist with your decision making. Hopefully you can find someone who can offer some of that sage advice. Maybe it's preparing you for a job interview, or maybe an important company or client presentation. I'll always tell people when you say, what skills do I need to do PR? I'm always going to say writing and editing. That's a constant. That's never going to go away. And so if a mentor can help you with that, it might be giving your work a review. It might be, could you look at my resume? Could you help me with, improving my cover letter? Or it might be more tactical to your day-to-day business around a presentation deck or some other similar presentation. And then by and large, mentors will bring their experience to bear. And so it might be everything from work-life balance to earning the respect of your colleagues or senior management in your workplace, or earning the trust of a client. So again, down to the nuts and bolts of it, where do you find a mentor? If you're in college, if you're in a PRSA chapter, maybe the ones being sponsored by the Houston chapter, hopefully there's a a liaison within the Houston chapter to help you find someone who could maybe serve as a mentor for you, or maybe they could put a program in place to help connect professionals to students who are active in the PRSA chapter at one of the area schools. I think you can look for mentors in your job setting. It might be someone, in your environment who works in a different department, someone who's maybe a little senior to you, but maybe they have, some other things that they can offer you, or perspective that would be different from your day-to-day work. And certainly, as I mentioned before, certainly professional associations, I'm a big fan of looking within those environments to find a good mentor. Certainly PRSA is what we're talking about today. There's a lot of professional associations that do a great job with connecting people for networking opportunities and continuing education, learning throughout a lifetime and career. IABC, the International Association of Business Communicators, is one of those. AAF is the American Advertising Federation. A lot of ad agencies are part of that. AMA, the American Marketing Association, is a good way to connect with people more in the corporate marketing and communications world. All those associations, depending on where you are, can be beneficial to you. So a few other ground rules on finding a mentor. Obviously, the goal is to find the best of the best in your industry. Ask around, ask people who would be a good guide, who would be a good role model, who's someone that I should talk to. They may be able to help you put together a list of potential mentors. Next, learn about them. Read what they've written. It may be things they've written in terms of social posts. They may have an ongoing blog in their current role. They may be very active on LinkedIn, and they may share articles or writing there. So follow them on social media. Maybe they're involved in a podcast. Listen to their interviews. Learn what they're about. And most importantly, go ahead and reach out to them. They probably won't bite. They're interested in helping people because someone helped them along the way as well. And like we said in that survey, oftentimes it's just a matter of, I'm just waiting for somebody to ask, and I'm more than happy to help. Let's take a couple of minutes and talk about a few mentoring best practices. I think mentors can help their proteges set expectations, and probably more importantly, hold them accountable. I like the phrase, not only getting beyond assisting with networking, but think of mentors as building your own personal board of directors. One of the things that I like so much about the PRSA Independent Practitioners Alliance is that we have a twice weekly indie chat. It's open to all. It's 1 hour on Tuesday afternoon, 1 hour on Friday afternoon. It's come as you are, participate when you can. But that group really functions as a personal board of directors for most of the people that participate. Each session, people come in and they share certain things, and they basically put it to the group. This is what I'm facing. Any advice? And it's very rare that we don't have someone who's faced that situation before, or something similar in their own experience that they can share with that person. So you're looking for someone, certainly who can share knowledge and expertise. You're looking for that inside info. I think it's also helpful in a lot of the mentoring relationships that I've had over my career. I like establishing an agreement, something to just get kind of the communication guidelines in place. And I think that's more on the mentee or the protege to set up. How often are we going to meet? What's the best way for us to meet? During the pandemic here, most of my communication has been with Zoom calls. And so it's gotten to where I really enjoy seeing people on Zoom, but I can tell you, I can't wait to meet some of the people that I've mentored via Zoom. If I have an opportunity to meet them in person, I can't wait for that to happen. I think having specific assignments is helpful too, because you want to open the door for guidance throughout the career. So you might be helping someone with a writing assignment, or maybe reviewing some of their work. But later on, it might be more about how do I change up or brush up my resume to make myself more attractive for this job I saw listed that really would be one of my dream opportunities. We talked a little earlier about reverse mentoring. I think it helps that mentoring is very intentional and setting those expectations up front, whether it's in a written agreement or at least just a verbal understanding of what you hope to accomplish. You want to certainly create a regular schedule. Mentees and proteges are looking for inside info. Tell me what I can't find by Googling, or what I can't find just in the course of my daily work. Finding those reverse mentoring opportunities, the mentor may say, hey, you seem to be pretty knowledgeable about TikTok. That's something I haven't really gotten into or don't really understand. Maybe you can give me a bit of an educational course on how that works and how that might fit into some of the work that I'm doing or recommending. And just keep in mind, it doesn't always click. Human beings are involved, and sometimes you're not gonna match, and that's okay. Don't get discouraged and give up on mentoring or being mentored. Just look and go back into the pool and find someone else who might be able to help you. So building a successful mentorship, it doesn't stop with that first contact. I think it's helpful to discuss the career path, discuss questions, advice, support, maintain contact over years, over different jobs, over miles of distance between you. I think where there's opportunities to share your interests, your rapport, your friendship, finding those common experiences and interests, those are key to building any good mentorship and really any good friendship. With mentorship comes respect and appreciation. You don't want to waste each other's time. There's ways to express your gratitude in small ways. Sending a handwritten note is extremely powerful. Always has been, I think always will be. And it's more than just the theory that makes the difference. Mentors might offer theory and real world experience, but they can really help when a mentee is assigned something that's unfamiliar to them, or something they've never faced before, or a situation where they've never anticipated, and they need somebody else to give them some perspective. And the last one here is kind of that circle of life thing. Bad news is really the good news. Mentoring can help young pros grow. It helps them maybe get better jobs or different jobs. Maybe it means they move away. Maybe they go to another community. But then they become mentors as they progress through their career, and everybody's paying it forward and the circle continues. I think that's extremely positive. So we talked a little bit earlier, mentoring in the digital age. I think it's easier than ever to take the relationship offline. Move from social media and to get to know your colleagues in real life. I think that's the goal, where you have the opportunity to do that. Also, I think it's important to think about experience does not always equate to years. Don't overlook those reverse mentoring opportunities I mentioned. Mentors and mentees have much to learn from each other. And the more open the relationship can be that way, I think the better it will be in the long haul. Something else to think about, I like this phrase, the community is now the mentor. It's not just one-on-one. You have opportunities with Twitter chats, with Google Hangouts, with other larger circles in your online communities. You've seen a lot of that just here with PR Day Today with the Whova app. Mentoring and networking are really at a crossroads. I think thanks to social, mentoring and networking, they're almost becoming interchangeable words. And thanks to the pandemic, real-time mentoring is here. We can strive for deeper connections through Zoom. We can dip into our social channels, appreciate the value even more of regular unplanned communication, whether it's through email or text or jumping into a Twitter chat with someone. So let's talk a little bit now about some of the mentoring opportunities specifically related to PRSA and some other things. PRSA International Conference, as many of you will know, is going to be in Orlando this year. It's October 17 through 19. Registration is open. I just registered last week. It is going to be in person, and I think there will also be some elements of it that will be available via Zoom or a similar program like what we're on today. If you're able to come to Orlando, I think the plan is for us to have some on-site mentoring in Orlando. So if you make the trip, take a look and you'll see the PRSA College of Fellows will likely have some times blocked off where you can meet with someone one-on-one and talk about whatever might be beneficial to you. And I can tell you from my own experience that that's been the start of many mentoring relationships that have started at Icon and then continued well after that when we all got back home. Another opportunity is a program that we started a few years ago called Aspire Higher, where the College of Fellows partnered with some colleges during the academic year primarily, but we identified several PRSA star chapters and they applied for this opportunity to connect with some mentors from the college. And I know that for this just completed year, we had mentors matched with students from Florida International, Marist College, Temple University, Syracuse University. And I have found that to be a very rewarding program. Again, very specific to people who are still in school, but partnering up with the College of Fellows for that. Another area that has nothing to do with PRSA, but everybody on this conference and webinar today went to college somewhere. And that most colleges have some sort of alumni network or offer alumni mentoring, particularly to newer professionals. It may be to just keep them involved in the school or aware of what's going on with the school. But when you go to a new community, it's likely that there's an alum of your college somewhere in that new place. Get connected with them. You have something in common already. You went to the same college, and that's a positive. And then the last thing, which we'll spend a little bit more time on right now, is PRSA Mentor Connect, which will be open to everybody who's a member of PRSA. At a high level, Mentor Connect uses our online My PRSA community to create short-term mentoring relationships between PRSA members or between PRSA and PRSSA members. Sets up defined goals, has a real focus on supporting new professionals and new members. And you'll see right there, if you go to prsa.org/careers/mentor connect, you can learn more about it. But here's a top line overview. Basically, mentors and mentees log in to My PRSA and you create a profile, whether you want to be a mentor or someone to be menteed, mentee or a protege. And then it's on the mentee to search for mentors based on specific characteristics. Maybe they're looking for someone in a different industry to give them some counsel on what's it like to work in sports or entertainment, or what's it like to work in an agency setting versus a corporate setting or a nonprofit or government setting. It might be around particular content areas. It might be around years of experience. Maybe it's, hey, I'm willing to do phone calls with people, but I don't really want to jump on Zoom calls, or I don't want to meet in person. It might be, hey, I noticed that we live in the same city. Would it be possible for us to meet there? So the geographic component comes into it. So basically the way it works very simply is a mentee sends an invitation to a mentor who can accept the invitation. And mentors and mentees are allowed to start and end relationships at any time. And I know in a few instances, if it doesn't click, it's fine. They just go back into the Mentor Connect pool and they look for someone else. And maybe that second or third relationship will be even more beneficial, or maybe beneficial in a different way. Just a couple of top line policies. Mentors and mentees must be PRSA members in good standing. It's on the mentee to initiate the request with a potential mentor. It's good. I hope it's good for you to know that mentors receive training. There is a training process behind this. And so once they sign up as a mentor, there is a training module that everyone goes through to help facilitate that and help them to be a little bit better at it. And again, as mentioned before, both parties have the opportunity to terminate that relationship at any time. So just to sum up a little bit here, ground rules for good mentoring relationships are really the same ones that you have in just basic human relations and generally in public relations. Professionalism is certainly at the top of the list. We're all communicators. Sometimes we're accused of not being the best at communicating, but I think good communication is the foundation for any good mentoring relationship. And in sync with that, really the whole notion of giving back. Someone did it for you. Someone maybe helped you with your resume, or maybe gave you the contact name of someone at a company you wanted to work for. So pay it forward, give back. And then staying in touch. And it may be, I can think of several of my mentoring relationships where I'm either giving advice to a younger person or seeking counsel from someone older than I am. We may talk to each other very frequently, and then we may go a long time, maybe even months or years without talking, but then we'll pick up that conversation again. It's like we never stopped. So that's it at a high level. If you have questions, I'll defer to Robin to help facilitate some of that, but here's my contact information. Feel free to reach out. Happy to talk to anybody. Mentoring is a personal passion of mine, and I'm not hard to find. You see all the contact information there. I'm very active on social. on the 4 channels you see there. So you're welcome to follow me on any of those, and we may find some commonality there as well. Robin?
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Rich. That was really insightful and very much, I'm sure we could all take a lot of value out of that and how to be a better mentor. So we do have a couple questions. The first being, how is it best to let others know that you are open to being a mentor?
Open to being a mentor?
Yes.
I'd say in the PRSA environment, I would encourage you to jump into that and explore PRSA Mentor Connect. It's a way to build out your profile, and in the course of doing that, you'll begin to see, and it'll prompt you and ask you for some areas. You know, it's things like a little bit of a profile of what type of work have you done, what would you like to be doing, you know, where do you have expertise? You know, in filling out mine, I've got a good bit of sports and entertainment in my background, a lot of event work. I've got a lot of building products and home category from my agency life. I've worked in verticals for healthcare and finance. And again, I know a lot about what's it like to work in an agency. I know a lot more now than I did a year ago about being an independent. But I would not be someone to talk to about corporate communications because I've not worked in that environment. So when I fill out my profile, I'm probably not going to check those as things that I would feel qualified to speak on. And then there's some other things there as well, you know, whether it's writing, editing, public speaking, you know, different tactical or skills oriented things. But if you fill out that profile, I think it kind of leads you through and guides you into where are some areas that I might be able to share some of my knowledge and gifts with people who are seeking some mentoring from someone else.
Awesome. All right. So the next question we have is, can you please share more about what it means to be a college fellow and why someone should consider it?
Absolutely. Be glad to. Basically, the PRSA College of Fellows is open to folks who've been in the business, in the profession for 20 years plus. We literally count it by months, 240 months plus of doing that. I think a natural progression for most PRSA members along that involvement in our organization is that, you know, some will start as students, some will start as new professionals. After you've been in the business for 5 to 7 years, that's a good time when you might be looking to transition from being more of a tactician, someone who's charged with putting together media lists, maybe monitoring coverage, writing releases, maybe pitching, whatever that might be, but some of the more tactical things. And to transition from being the tactician to more of a strategist, I think the accreditation and public relations process is one of the best ways to make that transition. And I will tell you that, as I mentioned earlier, the people that I went through my APR journey with remain some of my best friends in the business and people that I can lean on and count on to help give me counsel and advice when I need it. So they're mentoring, kind of peer-to-peer mentors of mine even today. So then once you've been in the business for a while, 20 years plus, I would encourage you to investigate the College of Fellows. It's a organization that kind of notes your accomplishment. It's a rigorous application process, one that takes some time to put together, and there's a selection committee that reviews and vets and screens those applications when they're made. But the good news is, if you are interested in it, there's lots of information on PRSA's website about it. But we also have a whole team of what we call good fellows, who basically are mentors or Sherpas for you through that application process. So if you have interest, check it out on PRSA's website, or reach out to me. I'd be glad to have an offline conversation with you about it.
Awesome. All right. So we got time for one last question. Becky Meyer says, great information. Do you know of any agencies that have official mentoring programs or policies? As an agency owner, I've mentored team members and they've mentored back. I wonder what you think of formal programs at agencies or other organizations.
What I've observed is that at larger agencies, and I'm thinking about agencies that are, I've typically worked at agencies that were probably mid-size. And one of the reasons why I got so involved in PRSA was that at a mid-sized or smaller agency, they probably don't have the resources or don't have that commitment necessarily to have a formalized mentoring program within the agency. But I always found that most agencies of that size were very supportive of people getting involved in organizations like a PRSA, or maybe through AMA or 4As or some of the other professional associations that are out there. For some of the larger agencies that are part of the bigger holding companies, I think in some cases there are more intentional mentoring programs. I mentioned Jackson and Wagner. I know Pat Jackson was the founder of that agency in the Northeast. I know they've been very intentional about having mentoring programs, encouraging people when they hit those mileposts in their careers to pursue your APR, to apply to the College of Fellows, things like that. So they've been very supportive of all things PRSA from a mentoring perspective. And there are other agencies that fall into that category too. I would say that's one of the ways that PRSA adds value to agency owners. You know, if you're participating at the Counselors Academy level or something else, you'll find that other agency owners will have information that they'll be happy to share with you through those smaller groups within the PRSA community. But there are some, I'd say the larger the agency, the more likely it is that they have someone who's dedicated to training, to leadership development, to professional development, continuing ed, and so forth. As they get smaller, particularly on the agency side, I think some of those firms tend to defer that a little bit more to PRSA to be a resource for them.
All right. Thank you so much, Philip. I really appreciated that. And with that being said, I think we're going to conclude this session. We're already running out of time. So thank you so much, Philip, for taking the time again to talk about the importance of being a mentor, how to be a good mentor, and why we should all be mentors. And so thank you so much. I appreciate it. And with that being said, we're going to end it here.
Thanks, Robin. Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Thanks, Philip. Bye.